All right, and welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Strange Planet Podcast. And for this week, we are going to be further talking both the RNC and the DNC. And while we're at it, we're going to be talking a bit about both of the candidates and their running mates. So, Rook, I believe you had something you wanted to start off here with J D Vance, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yeah, we know that J D Vance initially had a problem with women who did not have kids. We saw his, I think it was a tweet initially that talked about cat ladies. Okay.
Yep.
So he thinks that women who choose not to have children are just, useless to society, and maybe they like to own cats.
Unreal.
So it was uncovered that in past interviews, he also made additional comments to that effect. So it wasn't just a one-off thing. He tried to play it off like, oh, yeah, that's not what I really meant. Oh, like, no, like, that's what you really meant.
Right.
Because we have more comments that are saying the exact same things. For instance, he attacked the head of the teachers union and said that, because she, sort of was a adoptive mother to her husband's children from a previous marriage, and they didn't have children of their own. I don't know, perhaps they, had, enough children, and that she took them on as her own and she loved them as her own. So they really didn't feel it necessary to have more children, or whatever the fucking reason.
Right.
That's their business. Okay. J D Vance has no business commenting on that and saying, his intent was to disqualify her from being the head of the maybe it was I think it was the PTA, and it was, yeah, something about the Parent Teachers Association, or in some capacity, where he thinks that a mother who raises children who, although they're not her own, she's adopted them as her own through marriage. He thinks that should disqualify them from the position because they don't know what it's like to be a mother. I mean,
that's ridiculous.
What kind of, like, this guy, he's sick. Like, he's in people's bedrooms, he's in people's marriages. Like, what the fuck is he doing? He's creepy as fuck. Like, now I'm starting to see why people are saying he's creepy. Like, what business does he have commenting? What do you think about that, Mark?
I think it's deplorable. It shows the character of what the RNC has become, not the RNC, just the Republican Party has become at this point. They don't care about the everyday American people. They just care about the views that they want to push. And, J D Vance is just another one of those guys who's just like, oh, yeah, I think this thing should be this way and not the way they are now. I mean, to suggest that a woman who is looking after someone else's kids as her own, adopting them, and saying that that is wrong, that is, something to look down upon. It's like, no, you got it all wrong, Jack. It's definitely the right thing to do. If you're, even if you can't have your own kids, that's the only way you can have kids is by adopting them.
Right. Some people can't.
So,
right. The impetus behind him saying that was like, you're not a real mother.
That's
like, real mothers have their own children, but it's like a lot of parents.
That's a very sensitive subject for people. Like when you're a dad coming into another family, and then one of the kids says, "Well, you're not my real dad." That hurts. That hurts bad.
Right. Yeah. Like, I don't have to listen to you.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right.
Well,
Yeah. That's not cool.
Understand that the kids don't have to listen to them. It's just that when they say, "You're not my dad," it's just like, all right, you want to play it like that? Yeah, sure. Let's play it like that. So yeah, I can understand why people are upset with J D Vance for saying that thing, because it's nowhere near the truth.
And to say that disqualifies him from, her the mother from the position because she's not a real mother. I
Well, see,
mean, that's
therein lies the actual point of what he was trying to do, trying to disqualify her from some position of power
Right.
because he didn't want her in that position of power. So he'll find up anything. It'll be, oh, your eyes are brown, you can't be a judge, or your skin is purple, you can't be a regular citizen of this country. It's just, it's going to get to the point where they can just point out anything and say, I don't like that. You're not what I want you to be.
Right. I
but
actually see it as like a
he is- what he-
nitpicking thing.
But what he is pointing out, though, is, anti-women. That's been a theme with this guy.
Yep. And the
Anti.
Republican Party.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. So to get elected, he had to say a lot of shit. Okay. So the Republican base, who I guess are full of people who, look down upon women and want them in, traditional roles, and won't accept any non-traditional forms or relationships that might take place. Like, I just don't understand how he can, go out on the stump and still talk, and women, will be in the crowd listening. I just don't understand. It's
I
creepy.
agree. I totally agree.
But yeah, it's pretty much, the extreme right wing, um, you know, family values Republicans who, demand that of their candidates. And do I think he personally believes it? Probably not. But the fact that he was willing to go there and say this shit and attack people, attack a mother, for not being the real mother.
Mother, yeah, right. Like she didn't have
that,
mother duties, you know what I mean? Just because they're not
that
her
is, that
kids.
is,
I mean,
yeah, like,
really? Really? You do this every week now. Crazy. Come on. I mean, not to sound like I'm trying to defend him, but playing devil's advocate here, I can understand trying to bring back, not so much, the back in the day where women had to be the household makers, but there's a certain quality in American women these. Seriously, Jesus Christ! No, goodbye. No, now I'm mad at you. Anyway, there's a certain quality that American women don't have these days, and that's the homemaker quality. Now, if I could understand if he was trying to bring that to attention, but that's not what he's doing here. He's using that to disqualify women from, being anything of what's, worthwhile. Oh, you have to have a kid in order to be a true woman. No, 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 no. That's not what we're trying to say here. I mean, there is a side note. There is a rising call for people getting wives outside of the country here, whether it's like Japan or any other nation, because most of those women still have the traditional family values where they want to be a homemaker, where their whole point is to be man's peace when he comes home from work, to be he needs to eat, to keep the house in order. It's not like nowadays where women just don't want to do any of that and they just want to get paid to do just be the side chick or whatever they like. So I can understand the discredit, the difference in between those two things, but that's not what he's bringing to the table here.
No, that's a common criticism from family values conservatives, that American women aren't feminine enough, and by feminine they mean subservient to. That's what they mean by feminine, subservient to men. Okay, like I'm sorry.
No, when you frame it that way, it sounds like it's you have to be their slave. You don't have to be the man's slave. You have to want the man through and through. Like men want women. Men want women through and through. We want to treat you all like queens. But in order to do that, you have to treat us like kings. Not like some servant boy who shows up money and like I laugh when I see like Tinder profiles and it's like, oh, I want money, but I'm not gonna give you sex or nothing. It's just like, okay, so what are you worth to us at this point? I mean, not to say that that's the only thing we look at for women, but when we get into a relationship with women, that's one of the things we want. I mean,
mean, that is
I
a
don't.
key.
I
No
forget
doubt.
what somebody said. Like
Um,
I don't
for
need a
me,
bathroom.
I like intellectual stimulation. I like, someone to challenge me, to help me grow.
Yeah,
Right, right.
someone who has your back.
Partner.
Yeah,
And
someone
also
who's not just
someone,
along for the ride.
Yeah, it's
So
me.
I
The
mean, I
way these
get that.
Republicans are
and
talking,
also
though, it sounds
someone,
like we're taking a time
All
portal
right.
back to 1950.
No, but here's the thing, though. It's just like there's a comedian said this once. He's like, I didn't buy my house for my bathroom, but if you took that away from me, I'd be pretty pissed off. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
it's
no,
just
I mean, sex is a important part of any relationship, or I wouldn't say any. There's some, I guess, asexual people, but
Right.
I would say,
any
for
functional relationship with people, sexuality is a part of it.
We figure
And if that
marriage
is
or
gone,
relationships.
yeah, if that is
Yeah.
gone, then the relationship is either needs to be counseled or done because it's just
well,
that stimulation is not there.
they also say marriage is where sex goes to die, and once
That's
you get married,
That's very true.
You
But-
have to have the passion for each other. You know what I mean? You still have to
Yeah.
go on. You have to nurture that. You have to go on dates once in a while if you have kids and you can't spend every waking moment together. If your jobs are taking away from each other, you have to take those moments to reconnect with your loved one at that point.
What about
But
J
we're getting way off topic here
That's
from
true.
Jimmy
Yeah.
and his couches. You know what I mean?
It's an interesting
like-
topic because
Yeah, no, it is.
this is part of the Republican agenda. It's
Yeah,
to
because it all comes full circle here.
women back into that role to understand their place is not in the White House, but in the kitchen. And there's nothing wrong with a woman who chooses to stay at home and take care of kids.
Yeah, be a
take care of
housewife, say.
there's nothing wrong with being a housewife. If
Right.
that's a relationship that, two people want, and they're both happy with it,
Then so be it. What's the problem?
Yeah.
Right.
that works for them. But for women who choose to have their own careers and, that, and it's extremely insulting to those women who have fought so hard
To get to where they're at. Yeah.
and to get respected in academia and in workplace, to say that no, you got to go back to the kitchen, that is just insulting.
It is. It's a good way to chase
slapping-
away voters.
and men who fought so hard to normalize the fact that women can do anything essentially that men can in society. It's traditional gender roles are sort of an artifact of control. Like when humans evolved, men were more dominant over women because of physical strength. Women relied on physical strength for to eat. But now that humans don't rely completely on physical strength, we're not in the jungle. There's no tiger's going to get us. We don't have to
Right.
go out and hunt our food. Now that physical strength is not a primary determinant in whether someone lives or dies, and a large part of it, our society's sort of economic output is based on brain power, which women have plenty of. I think you have to respect the fact that a lot of women want to move into those roles, and it's just a shame that there are men who want to push them back, and unfortunately,
Well, all right. Here's my pin in that bubble right there. While it's fine accepting women coming into these new roles, and necessarily tossing aside the traditional roles, men are still looked at to do their traditional roles. We're supposed to pay for dinners. We're supposed to take care of the car and the garbage and this and that. And like, those are men's jobs to do. It's like, all right, fine, but who's going to take care of the other half of the stuff that you see what I'm saying? It's just like, if we're expected to do what men are supposed to do, hold doors open, pay for meals, all those stupid little things. That's just like, well, if this is supposed to be equality, it's not very equal at this point.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, that's where you got to
there are a
work
lot
that
of
out with your partner, I would say,
right,
too.
right. It depends on the relationship. There are a lot of women who, are single who take out their own garbage every day,
Right.
obviously,
Do everything, just like,
have their own house, do their own household chores and everything, and go to work. So it's not an either or situation. You can do
right.
both, and men do both as well. And so, when it comes to a relationship, though, different partnerships work differently.
Right.
And as long as people are, happy and free to design those partnerships, then there's no problem with splitting up, the responsibilities as they see fit.
Yeah. I just got to say, I'm going to throw this out there for the hell of it. Considering where all this stemmed from, you wouldn't hear something like this out of Waltz there. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, no, it's true.
such the other side of the fence. You know what I mean? Like something this stupid and something this like that said, I don't see something like this coming out of like Tim Walz's mouth. You know what I mean? Or anybody on the left side for that. You know what I mean? So it shows you that at the same time, I kind of feel like for a party that's trying to reach out and grab votes, they're doing a hell of a job of chasing them away with shit like this. Like, you know what I mean? Because they pissed off a whole group of people, if you think about it, by saying something this stupid with the cat ladies and all that. You know what I mean? Because they
Right, but
exist.
you also have to remember that there's a large contingent of conservative or family values women who support this.
That's true.
They sort of cheerlead the fact that women should go back to traditional.
Wow.
They like, and some women pride themselves on that.
That's interesting.
I mean, it's fun if you want to pride yourself on being a homemaker. But what it's not fine to do is try to shame women who choose not to be homemakers.
Right. Yeah.
For making their own choices as to how they want their partnerships to flow, and the exchange of responsibilities between two people is just that, between two people.
Right.
And politicians, especially one as creepy as J D Vance, has no business trying to dictate what should be the ideal partnership between men and women. That's not a government's role. That's not a politician's role.
Correct.
And I'm sorry, but come on, J D Vance in your bedroom. Yeah, you got other problems.
Yeah, for real.
Well, I mean, sounds like it might be in the living room, but either way,
Yeah, right. I was just gonna bring that up too, because if he fights with his wife, he's got his couch.
With my whole thing is, I think the conversation we're having comes down to expectations. What do you expect your significant other to do? And like you guys said, that's something you need to have a conversation with your significant other as your relationship goes along.
Yeah, you got to compromise. You got to work together.
Do you expect to come home to a hot meal every night, once in a while, never? Just throw those things out there. Talk to your significant other.
Well, again, though, that's a situation where you have to talk to each other and figure that out. Sometimes there may be, sometimes there won't. Maybe y'all both work. I don't know. Get a pizza instead. You know what I mean? So like, communication is the biggest problem when it comes to this kind of situation.
Oh, yeah,
you know what I mean?
absolutely.
Because if there's no communication, it's chaos. You know what I mean?
That's the one thing in this country we do very poorly is communicate with each other.
Oh yeah.
And it's in your jobs, it's in your day life, it's in your school life, it's everywhere. It's not just something like, you just don't talk to your friend, correctly. It's just like, it's everywhere. I mean, even in my job, it's just like, oh, hey, the truck for your parts didn't show up. We're not going to call you and let you know.
Yeah, good
you
luck.
have to call another dealership and be like, hey, did you guys get any parts today? It's like, no, the guy's truck broke down. Oh, thanks for letting me know. So at least I can plan my day.
Right.
These are just little things that happen in the world for everybody. So just, I don't know, take it.
And communication is key. And it's ironic that communication is key, because you would think social media would help in that case, but it actually is counterproductive. And we've done plenty of episodes on that, but that's another topic in itself. You know what I mean? So then there is that too. But yeah, I guess, does anybody have any words to say about Waltz now that we're on the VP conversation here?
I like his energy. I like his snappy comebacks, man. He seems like he's got a good head on his shoulders for someone who's a coach.
Yeah, I kind of see him as like a family guy. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really see like anything terrible, or like I don't see him demeaning anybody, or like, you know what I mean, wishing harm, or trying to, post and create sides and division. I don't see that coming from him. So I feel like Harris definitely picked a good running mate choice there with him. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
He's
I
a
agree.
punter, he's a football coach, you know what I mean? So like there's a lot. It was an interesting pick, but a very good pick. You know what I mean?
Obviously, you have to be careful because obviously that's the narrative that the Democratic Party wants to push. That he's a family guy, that he's wholesome. Sure, he might be all those things, but just be mindful that that's also a narrative.
Right. No, it's true.
And there's a story about him when he, I think, was a congressman, and this was about 10 years ago, and he met a military veteran who had a hearing problem, and his wife had a terminal illness, and Tim Walz drove around for hours in order to secure a hearing aid so that he could hear his wife's last words before she passed.
Oh, really?
This is a congressman doing this for this Army vet, or military veteran.
All right.
And so, you hear these stories and think, oh, he's a great guy. He did those things. Sure, he's a great guy. But we also have to be, honest and conscious that this is a narrative that party has constructed for it.
Right. I mean, there is that too.
There's plenty of evidence to support it, but you just have to be mindful of it. There's one thing that the right does in terms of their narratives. I mean, they presented Trump as a family guy at the RNC.
Yeah, but I mean, you hear him talk, and he said anything but.
Oh, well,
yeah, you know what I
mean. like you saw, because he didn't have anyone else to show up at his convention. You saw like family member after family member come up and say what a great dad he is, and what a great uncle he is, or whatever. And try to humanize him in a way by telling stories. Maybe some of them made up, I don't know. But you just have to be careful with narratives pushed by
the party itself.
It's extremely self-interested, and I'm more swayed by, yeah, sure, like what does the candidate say? What does he do that we can see? And also, what is the candidate doing when we're not looking? We
That's
had Trump
true.
on.
Behind closed doors.
Yeah.
We had Trump say, "Grab him by the pussy." So contrast that with Tim Walz. We haven't had a Tim Walz grab him by the pussy tape yet.
No, I wouldn't expect it, to be honest, but I suppose.
I mean, maybe between now and November, such a tape might drop. I doubt it.
Right.
But,
I mean, would you want to know about any of his dark secrets if he has any? Would you really want to tear back that curtain?
I mean,
an interesting question.
Yeah, you know what I mean. If he's good for the country and he does nothing to harm anybody,
kind of depends upon what it is.
And he just likes feet or something like that. You know what I mean?
If it's something stupid and minor, then it may not be a big deal. But if it's
what if it's just something odd? Like he likes
grab him by the
or some shit.
is like rapey. It's like the language of sexual assault.
Yeah, basically.
So,
For real.
so accused of sexual assault, and
For
he's
real.
also he won a settlement for he won not just he's had settlements for sexual assault, but he also won a jury verdict. What's her name? Where he actually was found liable for the sexual assault of his victim, and to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars, I believe. And then he, told falsehoods about her. He slandered her in public.
Oh, Eugene Carroll, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, yep.
Her name's slipped. But yeah, so I mean, yeah, we want to know about Trump's grab by the pussy comment and every comment, because it reveals something about his character. And of course, the court cases also reinforce what we already had suspected due to those sort of comments.
Yeah.
If you can find similar comments by Tim Walz, please bring them forward.
Right, which I don't expect it though. You know what I mean? I was just gonna say, because like it would shock me if something like that.
Right now, Trump's the list of things that Trump said. It just dwarfs like any. I mean, even Vince McMahon, his troubles aren't as plentiful as Trump's.
Right? Or P. Diddy. Right? Yeah, these are all great award winners here.
It's my life.
So I guess he has that going for him.
What does he got going for him? You got cut.
No, I guess there's no tape of him beating any women. So I guess Trump has that going.
Well, yeah, but I mean, there's a long list of God knows what else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Between those things and fraud and rape and yeah. So like that list goes on and on. So I mean, don't give me that shit that he's a a religious person and all that. Like,
but there's no video. So
yeah, right. Unless Putin's got it, but all right, everyone, and that's all we got for this week. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. New episodes of Strange Planet Podcast will be on every Friday on YouTube, and we will see you next week. Peace.
Peace.
See you, folks.